It took me a long time to get this movement.
You'd get your left foot forward just an inch or two or three.
And then you spin around with one leg extended, so you sort of do this kind of motion.
We start with a right hop, then a left hop, then 1, 2, 3 steps forward.
It's freedom, it's complete freedom of movement, which I don't feel at all on land. Although I could swim before, I could just do head-up breaststroke, very stately, and then somebody taught me how to do front crawl, and it is that whole movement, and you can feel yourself moving through the water like a fish.
After about 5 lengths, you reach a sort of bliss stage where you're just completely one with it, and it's such a beautiful element to be supported out of the air, and sort of, I guess, the next stage would be zero gravity or something. People all have their sort of, like a signature stroke. Everyone swims differently. It's as personal as somebody's gait or somebody's voice. It's really interesting how people all swim in a very particular way.
As I'm doing the movement, I'm thinking about taking a lot of air in. I don't know, it feels quite refreshing in a way. I don't know if anyone's described it like that before, but as I'm doing it, it's quite a refreshing feeling. Nice, big, drawn breath. And as I'm doing it, the breath sort of, what's the word? As I'm sort of doing the move, as I'm doing the owl, I exhale, that's it, I exhale. This sounds really kind of embarrassing, but the video game Tekken 3, there's a character on there called Eddie Gordo, and he does capoeira. And I remember I was playing with a friend one afternoon, and I was like, wow, what kind of martial arts is this? And as soon as I started joining, I was like, wow, I think this is me, this is what I need to do.
Well, it's very deep breath. You breathe in. You breathe in. You breathe in. Yeah, as you're kicking the ball, you breathe in, and then. There's no point in doing. Breathe out.
A little oasis in the built-up area. You get a lot of children come in here, and they just love to race around and everything. Also, when you're doing things, you see the movement of the trees, the leaves, and there's so many different plants that have a different movement. That you get those that are very wispy that just float, and then you get the others that really move. And also, when you're gardening, you're bending down or you're stretching across. So you kind of copy some of the movements that the plants are doing, really. And so you do get quite a lot of movement from a garden, really, in different ways.
slopers, so ones where you kind of have, you can't really bend your fingers, but your hands are like that on a sloper.
Crimps, they're small holds, generally use tips of your fingers, and you can use your thumb to lock in over the top.
You've got big jugs where you can get your whole hand in, obviously like a jug. There's underclings, so you're undercling something like this, and you're pulling yourself up to get above it. When you're about to fall, you kind of feel really, really tense. You kind of feel like something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong. And when you do fall, it's just like, you just let go, almost.
I find sometimes when we are performing, I get very nervous. You get so nervous your mouth dries.
Too tight and you can't manoeuvre it, and too loose it falls down.
And what I have to do is, rather than saving your breath to launch yourself, with that first launch, I scream as loudly as I possibly can to actually get rid of all that sort of emotion that you're feeling inside, just to get rid of it, because then it settles you.
Yes, there is a certain amount of jarring, but there is also technique to hitting the sticks. If you talk to the newer members, do tend to hit very much right angles on, whereas the older members, the more experienced members, do tend to hit with a slightly glancing upward blow.
I suppose there is that sense that everyone's sort of moving in unison and everyone's moving together, and you do sort of, it's not losing yourself really, but you sort of become some part of something bigger.
So it's a little bit like being on a wave, a little wave in a sea, or in a little boat on a sea. You get this wonderful lifting feeling underneath you. The more elegant the canter, the more beautiful and more elevation the horse has in the canter, the better it feels. And it can actually, it feels like floating if it's really good. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. The horse has three-dimensional movement. In walk it's 4-time, in trot it's 2-time, in canter it's 3-time, and in gallop again it's 4-time.
It feels kind of right, but it feels very obscure at the same time, because you know that you've got this massive power. It's like a force of nature. It's like being in a massive storm or something in the middle of it, or in, you know, I guess what's like surfers feel like when they hit a wave. It's that sort of exhilaration.
You do, I think, breathe in rhythm with the horse's movement. And if you're clever, you can get the horse to breathe in rhythm with its own movement. There's nothing quite like it when you're actually in harmony with a beautiful horse. It must be like, you know, dancing with a fabulous partner.